Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Mo here. Welcome to my channel, Mo Moon. For those of you who have already subscribed to this channel and joined what I want to be able to call a community, welcome to you. I love the fact that you've subscribed to this channel, and don't think for a moment that I take any of you for granted. I have 40 subscribers on my channel now, and it is really something else. I'm so excited. I can't believe 40 people have subscribed to my channel. I feel like I would be so anxious and nervous to actually meet you guys in person, and to even meet you guys, let alone do energy readings for you, is awesome. I'm so excited and I'm so thankful to have you here. And for those of you who are new to my channel and you haven't subscribed but you're watching, maybe this is your first video, welcome to you as well. So you've clicked on the fourth diary excerpt from my Vampire Chronicle diary series that I'm doing. It's just a short series, and I just want to apologize for the episode 3, my third Vampire Chronicle movie. Two cards popped out yesterday when I was doing that third recording, and so I do feel like it was a little bit long, but I watched the video myself twice, and I thought that even though, you know, it did seem a little bit long because it was two cards, I really do feel like they went well together, and I'm happy about how it turned out. But don't feel bad if you ever feel like you want to just fast forward a little bit. I mean, you know, if it's time for you to watch the whole video, you'll get an opportunity, and if you feel like you have to fast forward, that's not a problem. So my name is Mauharet, and I am currently in the middle of reading the Anne Rice novel Vampire Armand. And so this is Anne Rice here. She's such a beauty. So right now I'm reading the Anne Rice novel, The Vampire Armand, like I said, and I'm really I'm like reliving a lot of the experiences that I went into as I experienced my vampire spirit episodes around this time last year. And as I started, I did get about halfway through the Vampire Armand novel, but I started to reread it from the very beginning just a few days ago to really start over with the beginning of the book, because I wanted to get the full story. And that's the thing about the Anne Rice novels, is that once you start getting into the story, it's hard to put it down, and then once you put it down, it's almost like if you put it down for too long, you want to go back and start from the very beginning, because each book is such an experience. Each book is just so beautifully written, and I feel like Anne Rice herself is a vampire, because what's really amazing about the books that Anne Rice writes is that she actually feels like a vampire when you're reading the stories about the vampires that she's writing about. And if you think about the author, like Anne Rice, it almost feels like she pays so much attention to every little detail of every little thing that she's describing, that you almost feel like, how could a mortal human actually pay so much attention to all these little details? And so I really love the Anne Rice novels. And if you're not somebody who reads, you know, vampire books, that's fine. Maybe you can enjoy these little excerpts about where I went, and you know, these excerpts that I'm putting out, you know, one by one. And you can live vicariously through my ranting and raving about these amazing books that I love. So I am going to be using the Tarot of Vampire. I always say it like that. The Tarot of Vampire by Ian Daniels. This is a tarot deck that is specifically talking about vampires as the subject. And so as I did in my last 3 videos, because this is the 4th video in the Chronicles, this is the Phantasmagoria book that goes along with it, and it talks about each card. So I will be reading I'll be taking a card out of the deck, but I won't be using my intuition to read about the card unless I really feel like I want to. But I will be reading from the book because I feel like the book gives a really good detailed explanation about each card. This is the back of the cards. So let me just shuffle here. Um, I really feel like I want to get you guys started on a conversation about vampires, even if it's just with yourself in your head. You know, I know that there are a lot of like I know there's that show Twilight for like it's about teenage vampires or something, and I know that maybe if you're a younger person watching this video, you may not know about Anne Rice, but if you really do love vampires and you know, maybe you would be interested in the Anne Rice novels, or even if you've seen Interview with the Vampire, the movie. It's a really, really good one. I did sometimes get a little bit, I don't know what, I felt like when I would read about the parts where the vampires would drink blood or, you know, take their victim, you know, I did feel a little bit, I felt something strange inside of me when I would read those parts, you know, where some of the vampires are more aggressive than others at certain times, and I would feel a sense of like something inside me feeling a little bit, I don't know, weirded out or something. I don't know. It's really hard to explain in words, and I'm usually not someone who has a hard time expressing myself lately, but the card that that I drew for today, I'm just putting the tarot deck away. The card is the Two of Scepters. Interesting. And I have noticed that the tarot cards that I've picked for the other three excerpts, since this is the fourth from the diary, Vampire Diary, my Vampire Diary Chronicles, have really been fitting with what I've been talking about my experiences and how I feel like I am a vampire myself and a witch vampire. But I was actually thinking about how I didn't really want to go into my own experiences because I feel like they're really special to me, and part of me just wants to keep them to myself. But I don't know, it depends. Like, you know, sometimes you write certain things in your diary and sometimes you don't, and it doesn't mean that, you know, it wasn't important to you. It just means that maybe it's something that you don't want other people to find out if they look at your diary, or you don't want, you know, you just don't feel like it's something that you want to remember, you know, in that way. So it was the Two of Scepters, and that's probably wands. So it's the element of fire, and it's also drive, will, determination, passion. Two of Scepters can be like creativity, the creative drive that we have to make things. And it's the Two of Scepters, so it's a very balanced number. So I'm almost there, guys. I'm going to just get to the Two of Scepters in the book. Here we go. Two of Scepters. So let me just look at this card. It looks like a vampire, almost like the one that we had yesterday, who was jumping off the rock with the cross scepter behind him, ready to strike. You see, he's got that belt with like chains off of it, and he's got some serious abs. He's very well defined, but he's got like a warrior's look to him, almost like that movie 300. And it's a very dark night. There's fire behind him. It looks like there's a castle on fire. It almost reminds me a little bit of the Tower card with the castle there. So I can't think of anything that reminds me of this in the Vampire Chronicles, but maybe as we read along I'll think of something. So the alchemy for the Two of Scepters is Mars in Aries. The wisdom from the 10 Sephiroth is Shakma of fire. The energy of spiritual creativity, so that's what I said, like you know, creative energy. Kindred spirit is Veluel and Deniel. And I really feel like those must be some sort of like angels or some kind of spirits from, you know, that realm, that third dimension or whatever, essence. So the energy of will, dominion, conquest, command, strength, and power. Warlike energy, fierce driving force, and dynamic impulse. Daring and pioneering, proud or audacious. don't really see that in this card. I see more of a fighter, somebody who is prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, taking the initiative, original thinking, standing firm, persistence, and tenacity, commanding attention and respect, justice and revenge, shamelessness. So the message of the Two of Scepters glorifies our individuality, giving eminence to our uniqueness. It teaches us to employ new methods to gain personal advancement, to drive forward our unique spirit into the world, projecting our creativity and personality. When the Two of Scepters appears, it indicates that we can achieve anything and master any situation. It is the dynamic energy of fire brought down to earth and manifested in our unique spiritual drive. And that kind of reminds me of what I was thinking about today, about how I was writing somebody a message regarding this vampire that I have on my chest. And I was saying about how, like, I really do feel like I'm excited to get my vampire colored in. And I was, talking about the color of the skin and the color of the hair that I want to get filled in for the vampire here, and how she has like these tears of like blood, because vampires, they bleed blood tears. And so I was thinking about how like I wanted the tears to be red so people would know that they were blood tears, and how I can associate with this vampire woman on my chest, because this feels like how I felt when I was the Queen of the Damned. Remember I told you about that in my last episode of my Vampire Diary Chronicles, and how I really, really felt like I was so upset and I was so sad, and I just felt like this vampire here on my chest, where it was like I was just crying inside. I was crying inside, and I almost felt like today when I was thinking about that, I told her I told the tattoo artist who's going to be coloring in my tattoo, that I told her I can, as the fall is approaching, I'm really feeling reconnected to the spirit of the vampire in its passion and defeat. And I was thinking about innocence lost, and I was thinking about how the characters in Anne Rice's novels who become vampires, it's almost like they were the damned of society in a sense, especially with Lestat, who was, he was so powerful in his human life, and he was the wolf killer, and he killed a pack of wolves that kept bothering their village. He killed the whole pack of wolves. And his dogs that he brought with him to kill the pack of wolves by himself, they all got killed. And his horse too, was injured. And I think he had to end up killing his horse, if I can remember correctly, because his horse was so badly injured. And how he brought back, a relic to show the people that he had killed the wolves, and how, one of the brothers was making fun of him, and how from then on he was pretty quiet in his lifestyle, and how he had won the favor of the vampire Magnus, who ended up making him into a vampire because he was such a distraught soul. And same thing for Gabrielle, his mother, who Lestat ended up turning Gabrielle, his mother, into a vampire because she was dying and she was on her last she was going to take her last breath, and he helped her to come into an everlasting world where eventually his mother became so independent, which was very different from when she was independent from attachments to anyone in her mortal life, but she really did love Lestat, her son, and she tried to bring the best out of him, but she was also an independent mother in the sense that she didn't baby him. And I feel like usually, even when I think about Armand, as I'm reading this book, Anne Rice, Vampire Armand, how he got taken into the vampire world as a younger male, barely an adult, and that idea that going into this life was no better than their mortal life, except that now that they are immortal, they will live forever in their in the form that they got brought into the vampire world in. But I was thinking about how there is an innocence lost in those individuals who get brought into the vampire world. How before they even become vampires and lose their innocence of, humanity and being a human, they already lost a part of themselves in their human lives, that it's almost like there is no other step to take in reality except for the fact that they get taken into the immortal life where they get the dark gift and they become vampires. And then, it's almost like, so even the ones that, that actually do last, the vampires that will last for hundreds and hundreds of years, even they are better off if every now and then they go into the earth and just, stop drinking blood and just allow themselves to be one with the earth for a lot of years before they come back again into a new era of the world. And that's what Lestat did. When he came back out to be a rock star, he came back out into a new generation, and he came out because he was hearing the rock music being played and it was vibrating through the earth, and he felt like he wanted to come out and be a part of it. But it's that idea that even the immortals, the vampires, have to hide themselves sometimes and go into the earth and just be alone with themselves, because they are so distraught, and they see so much over the course of hundreds of years, if they last that long, that they don't want to go crazy, so they do bring themselves to a point of rest for a little while before they come back out again into a new time, a new year, a new change of the time that's passing. So I don't know how I got into all that, but I think it was the fact that I was thinking about innocence and how this warrior, it's almost like, what did he start out with? How did he start out, this warrior here? Did he start out as a young boy who just wanted to be innocent and end up having to fight for his life and for those that he loves? We all have a story, and I think that's what I want to portray through these Vampire Diaries, is that you have a story too. And even if nobody ever acknowledges your story, you have a story to tell. You just have to think about it. Think about your story. What are the things that you've been through that no one else has ever been through? And how can you express yourself to let people know that you aren't just another number or another, name in the world, that you are special? And I think that's what I really want to get across with these Vampire Diaries, is that sometimes I feel like I'm not special, and sometimes I feel like I have nothing to offer, and sometimes I feel like I am like that vampire who, her innocence was lost, and there was no other choice but to take the dark gift. So the rest of this message for this Two of Scepters. When the Two of Scepters appears, it indicates that we can achieve anything and master any situation. It is the dynamic energy of fire brought down to earth and manifested in our unique spiritual drive. It is a time for us to stand proud, believing in our convictions, and concentrate our power towards our goals. We are urged to assert our will and seize the moment. And that's what I want to do, you guys. I want you to assert your will and seize the moment and be yourselves. It may be that a situation is making us... Sorry, phone call again. We are urged to assert our will and seize the moment. It may be that a situation is making us feel powerless or dominated. In this case, we are being encouraged to reclaim our personal power. This situation could involve someone or something outside of us, or it can be an indication that we need to regain command of our feelings on a personal level. And I feel like that's what I'm encouraging you guys to do, is to regain command of your feelings on a personal level. Often the card is compelling us to rekindle our determination and take action. A decision may need to be made, and now is the time to act dynamically. In many ways, the card is not about a long-term planning and intellectualizing, but about being daring and spontaneous, as the Suit of Scepters is about passion and inspiration. And I kind of feel like I did that with these videos. It's like I just took like inspiration from, my experiences, and I just felt like I'm really passionate about the experiences that I've been through. And so I just kind of, I just kind of like, it wasn't about long-term planning and intellectualizing, but it was about like acting dynamically and just taking action, just like, on the spur of the moment. We are being urged to act forcefully and impulsively, whether to reach our goals, reclaim our power, or fulfill our desires. And I really feel like this is the time, after we all have been on lockdown, we can reach our goals, reclaim our power, and fulfill our desires after having gone into kind of like a sense of the hermit mode, where we've all been kind of like stuck in our house getting to learn about who we are. The card can represent a situation in which we must take the lead in terms of a relationship, which is our relationship to ourselves, a professional endeavor, a creative project, or any situation in which we need to make a stand for justice, which really does remind me of the protests. It can also signify that our energies are being brought together to flourish, resulting in the fulfillment of our ambitions. So the analysis and symbolism of this card is the first formation of the fire of the ace. So this is the first after the ace, because it's the two of scepters. So the ace of scepters and the two of scepters comes after the ace of scepters. So this card is the first formation of the fire of the ace. So the first card after the ace is this one, which is fire at its unconceived original source. So the ace is the fire at its unconceived original source. Here, the divine fire of the ace passes into our being. So the fire comes through us and then flows out into the world, which is why it can be creative energy, right? This flow brings us an intense feeling of expansion and satisfaction. So there's something about letting the fire flow through you somehow, through what you want to create or what you want to tell people. And it lets you expand and feel satisfied. While this power is part of us, it is also separate from us in the sense that we are a channel for it rather than its origin. So we're not the origin of this fire. This fire comes from within us, yes, but it is also given to us from the divine, because the body that you have is not who you are, right? Even though you have a heart and you have a soul and you have a mind and you have strength and you have power and you have an aura, really the fire comes from like that star that you came from, or that source that you came from. So there's something about the fact that this creative fire comes from a source as well. I don't know if I really believe that we don't have our own creative fire in us, but this book says that the divine fire of the ace passes into our being and then flows out into the world, which I do believe. But I don't know if it's from an original source, so to speak. I don't know how the world was formed, I just know what I believe. And so it's very much a question, like in my mind, are we the originators, or was there an originator in the beginning? I do know that I believe that we, some of us come from stars and stuff like that. But there's a lot of questions in life, isn't there? And those are the things that I want to ask and find out answers to. So this card is very passionate, and I feel the passion of this card right now, actually. This flow brings us an intense feeling of expansion and satisfaction. While this power is part of us, it is also separate from us in the sense that we are a channel for it rather than its origin. And there we go. That's the idea, that we are not its origin. And I don't know, are we the origin of our own passions? I think we are. But the two of scepters represents the spontaneous energy of fire, acting through its impassioned impulse rather than looking to a goal or following a particular plan. The card is ruled by Aries, the astrological sign of the ram, which beautifully illustrates the nature of its energy of this card. The ace of scepters goes into the two of scepters, which is this card. The card is ruled by Aries, the astrological sign of the ram, which beautifully illustrates the nature of its energy, which is that forceful energy of the ram. It has an impulsive force which is driven by its passions, often without considering the possible outcome of its actions. So that could be something that we have to consider. Is we also have to think about what are going to be the outcomes of our actions. And this card, I feel like this card tells us a story, though, about how this man knows what he's doing, but he doesn't know what the outcome is going to be. But he knows that he has to take action for something, whether it be for a fight, because he is well suited with his mask on and his spear, to go into a fight. And he also has something on his knee there. I think it might be like some kind of metal boots or something. So it is a dynamic and willful, exalted by its own determination, independent It is dynamic and willful, exalted by its own determination. Independent, defiant, and assertive by nature, this card's boldness and tenacity forces a breakthrough in any situation. And I really do feel like this video is like, this card is totally what this video is about today. This card's boldness and tenacity forces a breakthrough in any situation. This lust for success is stable and is channeled perfectly without causing destruction of the whole, which is very interesting. So that means that there is thought before the action, because it is channeled perfectly, and it is without causing destruction of the whole. So see, he's channeling his energy to destroy something, but he's channeled his energy to destroy something specific, as the book is saying. The power must be controlled, directed, and used wisely. Turn the page. Due to its potency, and in order to avoid attracting any of the shadow aspects listed below. So we're going to read those soon. On an inner plane, the card can indicate that a time of challenges is ahead. And of course, times of challenges are ahead. It is always challenging to express yourself. So that's a given. Perhaps that an emotional or spiritual framework or belief needs to be broken down and replaced with a new perception. And that's what I'm always trying to do, is that I'm always trying to encourage myself to question things. I really feel like that is the spirit of Lucifer, is that questioning, and finding answers and being your own, guide. And tomorrow I'm planning on doing a Lucifer channeling video, so stay tuned for that. These times of change are difficult for us. Beliefs and feelings which have been a comfort are shaken to their foundations and sometimes destroyed. And that's very much the Tower card in the tarot deck that we are going through right now. However, this process is necessary if we are to grow and develop. Exactly. Like, if sometimes things have to get worse before they get better, and probably they do, right? However, this process is necessary if we are to grow and develop. That's true. The outcome of such turbulence is that new and wonderful adventures appear before us once trials have been completed. The channeling of the energy of the Two of Scepters involves keeping a clear head while evoking its force. So even though, he's going to take a swing here, he's still keeping a clear head and he's keeping his focus. It's like when you want to, catch something. When you're watching it come towards you, you have to watch what's coming towards you, and you don't think about what your hands are doing. You just move your hands in order to catch that thing that's coming towards you. And we don't always catch them, but whatever. It's that idea that you have to keep your eye on your goal. It's not about keeping your eye on your hands when you want to catch something. It's about keeping your eye on the goal of what you want to catch, right? And it's just an analogy. Okay, so the channeling of the energy of the Two of Scepters involves keeping a clear head while evoking its force. If we are facing challenges, we should not allow ourselves to become a victim, but instead remain defiant and proud, while not crude or arrogant, which is totally true. We have to, not become too prideful in our learning, because just because we're learning something doesn't mean that we're any better than anyone else. It just means that we're learning something and they may be learning something else. And I am going to be doing, hopefully, zodiac energy readings, and I actually started that video a couple weeks ago. I did the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, and I was learning about each sign, and as I was doing the energy reading for them, I was learning about how amazing each sign is and how each sign has its area of expertise. And so it's not about looking down on other people, it's about realizing that you have your area of expertise, but that makes you no better than anyone else, and that also that other person who has another area of expertise, it doesn't make them better than you either. So that's what I learned when I was doing that, but I had to delete the video. The fiery power is spectacular and invigorating if used correctly, but I missed something here. Okay, like the power of the magician, this fiery power is spectacular and invigorating if used correctly, but destructive if allowed to descend into chaos. So that's that idea that you have to keep your focus while you're moving your energy, instead of just forgetting about your focus and just bringing energy wherever you want to put it and not really paying attention to where you're putting it. On the card, we see a vampire warrior in a ram horned helmet, standing defiant. His scepter is a bloody spear, with which he thrusts forward his power to destroy his enemies. The image of Dracula as Vlad the Impaler is illustrated here. So this is a vampire in this card. He stands in a fortress surrounded by fiery energy. So there's fire all around him. In the background, we see a watchtower. So that was like, it wasn't a castle, it was a watchtower. A beacon both as a solid place of energy, representing leadership in brackets, and as a lightning conductor, illustrating the card's qualities as a channel for fiery creative power. So it's very much about wielding that creative power that you have. And if this creative power is not expressed, the shadow is this: destruction, conflict or war, rashness, explosive violence, aggression, arrogance, egotism, obstinacy, dominion or tyranny, dread of challenges, cowardice or avoiding responsibility, weakness or lack of confidence, overly sentimental, unrealistic or being unprepared, lost potential, depression or worry, feeling powerless, attacks from adversaries. So that's what I was talking about when I was talking about how Lestat went underground before he came back up in the novel The Vampire Lestat. He comes back up to be a rock star and to tell the people about the world of vampires. And I'm also thinking about Gabrielle and how Lestat's mom, and how she cut off all her beautiful golden locks, and because she's a vampire, the next morning they had all grown back, because vampires, they heal very quickly. And how, Lestat's friend Nicolas, how he originally was a violin player, and how he always, saw the dark side of life. And eventually, when he did become a vampire, he was still very much stuck in that dark vision. And how becoming a vampire doesn't really change you; it just allows you to see things more clearly. And I guess that what I'm thinking about is the idea that when King Solomon said, with the increase of knowledge comes the increase of grief. And so I don't feel that for those, who, let's say vampires were real for a second, I don't feel like becoming a vampire would make anybody's life easier. I feel like it would just make it a lot more difficult, because one, you're living forever and you're never going to die in this human form that you're in. And two, you still have all your emotions that you had before you became a vampire. Three, you have the added guilt of having the thirst for blood and having to take it from people's lives without asking them. Four, you still feel all the emotions, like I said, and they become that much more heightened. And five, you have to learn how to balance out your vampiric gifts and abilities, such as flying, if you become strong enough of a vampire, and telepathic hearing and stuff like that. But the idea that if you create a vampire, you cannot communicate that way with that vampire in telepathic communication. But you can also shut off, as a vampire in the Anne Rice novels, you can also shut down your mind from anyone else reading your mind in the vampire world. So it's very much, when you become a vampire in the Anne Rice novels, it's very much about learning how to control those gifts that you received as you became a vampire, the dark gifts that you receive. And it's about learning how to control your thirst, because if you live long enough as a vampire, you no longer have to drink blood all the time to stay alive. You just learn how to be. And I think that's the message for the day, is learn how to be. Learn how to be. Learn how to channel your creative, energies, and keep your focus as you're channeling them. Like for me, it's easy to lose my focus as I'm rambling on and on here. But the whole purpose was to create a vampire diary. And this is episode 4 in my Vampire Diary Chronicles, the Chronicles of Mauharet, and her experiences with vampires in the emotional sense. Even though I've had physical experiences in a sense where I have had, things happen in my mind, that doesn't make me crazy. It just means that I've learned certain things that other people have not learned. And if you have specific experiences too that you've experienced that maybe people wouldn't consider to be real, it doesn't mean that they're not real to you, right? So use those experiences and the creative energy that you have to put something out into the world that expresses those experiences, just like I'm doing with these Vampire Diary Chronicles, expressing my experiences with feeling like a vampire and the certain things that I've gone through where I've channeled the vampire spirit. So this was the Two of Scepters. It was a beautiful card, and it's about holding on to that that he's holding onto his bloody spear in this fiery, passionate situation, and he's well equipped. You know, he's closed off his body in the important places like his head from being hurt, from being killed, and it's very much about not just being an innocent person, you know, but being wise and innocent, not just being plain, you know, ignorant, innocent, but learning how to be learning how to be wise through learning how to be. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, and if you want to, and hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going to come out with another video. I post a video at least once a week, if not more. Leave a comment if you want in the comments below. So it was nice to talk to you in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later. Bye.